Good afternoon. How are you doing? Good afternoon on this wonderful sunny Friday. We've got a few people wanting to join today, so I'm just going to wait for them to connect. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining. Just going to wait for a few people. How are you doing on this lovely, lovely Friday? Antonia, hi, how are you doing? How are things? Lovely to see you. Just waiting for a few more people to join. Paula, hi Paula, nice to see you again. So happy Friday, good afternoon. How are we doing? I got a few people that have messaged me to say that they're going to join, so just going to wait for them to connect. Beautiful sunny day again here, but much fresher in the UK this week. My husband and I were out walking around the dock at 5 o'clock this morning. It was absolutely glorious. So many beautiful little babies. I know I'm a little bit of am I a bit of a duckling bore? Are you getting bored of hearing about beautiful baby ducklings? There's more to come. The swans in the next few weeks. I'm absolutely counting on it, and I will be giving you a full update. So how are we doing this week? How is your family? How's your business? How's your team? Our lockdown in the UK is slowly starting to lift. It looks like we're being allowed outside more, which is fantastic, and people are being encouraged to go back to work if they can. If they can't work from home, they're definitely being encouraged to go back. And the government is asking us to walk and cycle to work, which sounds very good, and avoid public transport if we can. I think it's actually the first time in my lifetime that I've ever heard a transport minister stand up and say, please use your car if you can. Really, really strange times we're living in. I never thought I'd see the day. So how has your week been? How are you doing, and what have you been working on? I'm interested to know. So I have some really exciting news this week. I was supposed to record the audio version of my book back in April, but it got cancelled, of course. And next week were the new dates, and I was absolutely sure they were going to cancel again, but they just got in touch a couple of days ago and said, would you like to come in? Which is kind of quite weird. It'll be the first time for me outside of the Docklands, and the first time on public transport, because we don't have a car, in 10 weeks. Can you imagine that? I've been in my little bubble here in the Docklands in this beautiful part of East London, and I'm going to be venturing out into central London next week, so that's going to feel a little bit weird, but I'm super excited about recording the audio version of my book because so many people have asked me, when's it coming out? When's it coming out? Lots of people want to be able to listen to it rather than just read it. So I'm very excited to get it done, but if I have got no voice left by next Friday's live, then you'll know why. So I might just be waving at you next Friday. So all day Wednesday and all day Thursday I will be recording my book, so I'll let you know how that goes. Very, very excited. Hi Mohammed, hi, how are you doing? How are things in Egypt? We are so missing your beautiful country. My husband and I, we are so missing our diving. That is the one thing. We're very happy here, but we are missing our diving. So we're hoping to come and visit you in your beautiful country as soon as we can. Hope things are well with you. Okay, so this week we are talking about being authentic, and particularly sort of about getting your message out, and kind of how do you do that? And I'm interested to know, what does being real in your business mean to you? Because clearly it's the name of my business, and it's actually something that's really important to me, but I'm interested to know what that means. What does that word real mean for you? And I want to tell you a little bit about how I came to that word in my business. So some of you who have been connected with me for a few years will know that actually my model, and the model that I use to work with my clients, actually started out as the trust model, and I used to run something called the Trust Community. Now, trust is hugely, hugely important in business, of course, and it kind of seemed like a good way to reflect what I was trying to say and how I was trying to help my clients. But when I was writing my book, and I spent some time with Joe at Rethink Press, who are my publishers, And we were talking through names that I could use for my book and trying to get this concept across of sort of business fundamentals, if you like, those sort of building blocks of business that I work with my clients on, even though, as Paula told me earlier, it kind of makes some of them feel a bit sick, but at least we need to do some of that. So when I was talking to Jo, we talked about things like the business plumber or the business trainer, like the personal trainer for business, because I'm quite direct and I hold my clients accountable. So this concept of maybe being a personal trainer, Antonia knows all about that. And I spoke about wanting to sort of be the counterpoint to all those business coaches out there that are selling what I call the shiny. It's very much needed and I'm not knocking it at all. It's very valuable, but it's really not me. So I wanted to sort of make that counterpoint. And I started talking about real business and what it means to be on this amazing roller coaster road that we're all on. And, you know, all the ups and downs and just sort of the reality of being in business. And I think that there are too many, I call them kind of hero stories out there, all about how amazing it is and how successful people are and how much money they've got. And not quite enough recognition for my liking of just how hard it is actually to build a business. There's lots of macho talk out there, isn't there, about kind of crushing in the gym and working like a dog and all of that kind of language, which is great and it motivates some people. And again, I'm not really knocking it, but it's not right for everybody. And I sort of want to be a bit of a counterpoint to that. And so that's why I was talking to Jo and I talked to you about building a business that works for you. And that's going to be different for each and every one of you. And that's really what I'm passionate about. So being real is really sort of at the core of who I am. You know me, I'm direct, I'm no nonsense, I tell it how it is. I'm actually quite challenging to work with, but also very compassionate. It's actually more important to me that you get a result than that you like me. I'm passionate about helping you get a result. That's what I want. And if I have to kind of be a bit direct and challenging to get there, then I'm happy to do that. That's the way that I work and that's just the way that I am. If you read or listen to testimonials from my clients, you'll hear that coming through loud and clear. So in fact, Philip, if you listen to his video, his testimonial video, he actually says, Lisa is what it says on the tin. What you see is what you get. I've never really been too bothered about what I look like, thank God, with this hair. I don't know about any of you, but my hair is just getting out of control. Need to get to the hairdresser. Anyway, so I was waxing lyrical all about this and suddenly Jo said, how about we keep it really, really simple and call it the real entrepreneur? And you know what? I loved that. I thought, oh my God, that is the perfect thing. That is the perfect way for me to say what I'm trying to say, the real entrepreneur. I just loved it. And then, of course, I immediately got a bit defeated because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to change my whole model. And Jo was saying, no, maybe you don't, Lisa. Maybe you can call it the real entrepreneur and still have the trust model. But I was like, no. I got into full kind of mechanic mode. For those of you that know talent dynamics, I was like, oh my God, I need to change my model. And it had really taken me quite a long time to get this lovely trust model and get all the pieces in the right place. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go down, you know, those rabbit holes where you go down and you can just see yourself going down a rabbit hole that you know is going to take you kind of off track for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I was just really worried. I just so wanted to get this book out and published. And I was just... We were at that point where we were talking about covers and titles. I was kind of there and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to change my whole model. But you know what? When something's right, it just kind of works. And actually, when I looked at it, it literally took me about 10 minutes to fit all the pieces that I had in my trust model into real. And it worked beautifully and I didn't have to compromise anything and I didn't have to ditch anything. And you know, when something's right, it just kind of works. So that's kind of how I came to Real and how I really feel that it expresses my brand and my message and what I'm trying to say. And in my view, I think it's actually relatively easy to be your authentic self when you're in person with somebody. And even on calls, particularly on video calls, it depends who you are and I suppose how guarded you are. But I think most people, when they're face to face or on a video call, they are able to kind of get into who am I, and, you know, putting across their authentic self. But translating that then into how we appear online can be really challenging. If you look back at my early lives, I think I'm a lot more kind of stilted than hopefully I am today, where I'm feeling much more comfortable and in my flow, and just talking to you and sharing my thoughts. So I know that it can be really challenging for people when they're going online, and I certainly have found that's difficult, and I'm still kind of figuring that out a little bit myself. But I do want to share sort of some of my ideas and thoughts and my learnings on this topic. And I think we can also link this back then to what we were talking about last week in terms of niching and attracting the right customers. So we see a lot of people putting out there what they think people want to see, and that's actually a bit the curse of social media, isn't it? We're kind of putting out this sort of perfect version of ourselves rather than actually who we are and what we truly believe, which in business is so important. I remember a personal training client of mine a couple of years ago telling me that he was thinking of photoshopping some of his photos to bulk them up a little bit, because that's what potential clients are looking for. Antonia, I don't know if you've, maybe it's a little bit different with a female personal trainer, I don't know, but he was like, oh, I think I need to kind of Photoshop myself a little bit because my clients expect someone a little bit more bulked up. And I was absolutely horrified, goodness me. Firstly, isn't there going to be a bit of a disconnect? Aren't they going to be terribly horrified and kind of disappointed and a bit surprised when they meet you? But also, do you really want that kind of client? Is that really the kind of client that you want? I asked him. So here's the thing, you know, I know that we might think that our clients are choosing us, and of course they are, but we also need to be choosing our clients. And so if you're working with people that are not in alignment with you, you're going to be miserable. It's as simple as that. And also, it's actually really quite difficult to maintain a sort of an alter image of yourself. And certainly some people are better at it than me. I've never been particularly good at it. You know, some people are better at kind of putting that mask on and maintaining that facade, if you like. But I think it's actually really difficult to do consistently. And I also believe that people can see through it quite quickly. Our subconscious, don't forget, our brain is designed to keep us safe. And so our subconscious is always looking out for indications that something's not quite right, or any kind of signs of danger, if you like, psychological as well as physical, of course. And so our subconscious is actually trained to spot deception and deceit. And maybe they sound like quite strong words, but if we're not being ourselves, that's ultimately we are being deceitful. And that's why we can kind of get a feeling about people, you know, when you kind of meet somebody and it doesn't quite gel, and you've kind of got that question mark. And other times you kind of meet somebody, or maybe you kind of watch something like this and you go, yes, this is the person, you know. And my experience is that the more real you can be, the more that happens. That does happen. I'm very lucky that happens with my clients. People get a sense of me. They either meet me or they see me in this kind of way. Maybe they've watched my TEDx talk, or maybe they've seen a live, or maybe they've seen one of my videos, or they've met me. And they just get a very strong sense of, you are somebody that can help me. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that kind of connection with somebody. And that's not going to happen with everybody. And that's absolutely correct. And that is what you want. And that is the point that I was making last week about niching, is you actually want to turn some people off. Yeah. So some people are going to be like, oh my God, look at her. She waves her hands around, you know, she's very intense, and, you know, she's far too kind of organized and geeky for me. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. They're probably not my ideal clients. And so we get that kind of sense about people, and I think that's one of the reasons why it is important. And I know it's easy to say, oh, be yourself, but it is really important to try and put across your authentic self as much as you can. And as I say, the truth is that some people will resonate with you and some people won't. And actually, the clearer and more authentic you can be, the better chance you'll have of succeeding in whatever business you're in, because you're then much more likely to cut through. And like I think I said last week, but it's probably worth repeating, when you start getting people disagreeing with you maybe on social media, we all have to grow a bit of a thick skin if we're going to be out there. But when you get people disagreeing with you, so you know that I mentioned to you I've been working on this automated webinar funnel, which is not for everybody, that's totally fine. But I had one lady actually comment and go, oh my God, I hate all of these things. They're so, they're so, what did she say? So crap or so generic, or she used one word. And I went back in the comment and said I'd be really interested to hear your feedback, because I'm actually trying to be valuable on my webinar. I'm actually trying to offer people some real practical step-by-step advice. So if you're finding it kind of generic and boring and blah, I suspect that she hadn't actually watched it, but that's not the point. I think you can engage with people on social media, but ultimately, if someone's not going to agree with you, that's totally fine. That's great. Then you don't have to waste your time on somebody that you're not resonating with, that you're not kind of getting that connection with. That's great. You actually want marketing is a disqualification process. So we're not trying to appeal to everybody. We're trying to appeal to the people that we appeal to. Paula's saying, love that. You want to turn some people off. Exactly. You want some people to go, oh my God, I could never work with that Paula person. Oh my God. Whereas someone like me is going, yes, oh my God, exactly the kind of person I want to be working with. So it's about, the more real you can be, the more you are going to connect with the right kind of clients for you, and the more successful you will be. I am absolutely 100% sure about that. And I know that from my experience. So I absolutely love the clients that I work with, and anybody that I don't really love and I can't help, I don't work with them. Now, you might not be in a position to be that choosy, if you like, about your clients, but I would really encourage you as much as possible, whether you're looking at clients or whether you're looking at different partners. I know, Paula, you're looking to create a kind of a partnership network, if you like, in your very exciting project. Anybody that you work with, you need to choose that. I always say to when I meet entrepreneurs, I'm part of a couple of angel networks, and so when I meet entrepreneurs who are fundraising, I always say to them, yes, you want to take investors' money, but you also want to take money from the right people. Yeah. So this whole process it's about a partnership. A client relationship is a partnership. An investor relationship is a partnership. If there are people that you want to be working in your network, in your project, that's a partnership. And that means that you're choosing as much as they are. Yeah, and that is why it's so important to be your authentic self. I want to work with ambitious people who are changing the world, and I know that I can help those kinds of people. I can help bring structure to the chaos. So that's what I can speak about, and that's what I know I can deliver on for my clients. And so when they hear me speak, they know what they're getting. So I want to talk a little bit about values. Our values are at the very heart of who we are, and therefore need to be right at the very heart of our businesses. They actually form the core of our beliefs, and they drive our behaviours, they drive our thoughts, they drive our feelings, they drive our actions. So they're absolutely crucial to understand. They are really what drive us through our life, and they're deep seated. They're a fundamental part. They are built through our childhood, and they're a fundamental part of who we are. They are single words like honesty, respect, fairness, freedom, those kind of concepts. So they're kind of those big concepts. And each of us has got probably one or two really core values, and then maybe a few others, but there's a couple, probably maybe two or three, that are really key to you and really drive who you are, the decisions that you make, the choices that you make, how you run your business, how you operate in relationships, basically everything you do. And if you listen carefully, you can actually hear that in the way that people speak, in the words that they use, because these things weave their way through in the stories that people tell themselves, in the excuses that we make. You can actually hear them in the words once you start tuning into. And the way to know, and the way to get a bit of a clue, if you like, about your values, is if you experience a really strong reaction to what somebody does or what somebody says, and you kind of think, oh, that was a bit weird, why did I react like that? Was a bit, you might even think, oh, that was a bit of an overreaction, like, why am I reacting like that? It's usually because they've crossed our values, and that intensity, if you like, of the reaction might actually surprise us, and that's a good way. I learned that through my coaching training. That's a really good way of getting tuned into what your values are. Or if you're with somebody else and you see it happening to them, then you can help them get clear that their values are being crossed. So I'm going to give you an example. I was in a room full of business owners a few years ago, and the mentor at the front of the room was kind of talking about his clients, and he referred to one of them, and he kind of started to say, you all know John, he built up that great business, and then he stopped. He stopped himself and he started again. And he went, you know John, he and I built up that great business. And do you know what? I honestly felt like somebody had slapped me around the face. I had such a strong reaction. I looked around the room and I was like, nobody else was reacting. Nobody else batted an eyelid. And he continued to speak and say whatever he was going to say about John. And I was actually going through my coaching training at that time, and I spoke with my supervising coach about this because I was just surprised at how cross I was. I felt sick and I felt really cross about it. I couldn't really figure out why. So I kind of spoke to Anne, who was my lovely coaching supervisor, and we talked it through, and she said, well, what made you so cross about it? About what he had said, like, why do you think you had such a strong reaction? And I said to her, I hope that I never, ever, ever say that about any of my clients, and any of my clients that are watching, you can hold me to this 100%. I help you, I stand by your side, I walk with you, I support you, I pick you up when you fall down, I encourage you and I challenge you, but I do not build your business. That's all you. You're the one in the trenches every single day, and yes, I'm by your side, but you're the one doing the hard graft, and so I will never, ever say that I built your business with you. I will say that I helped you and I supported you and I did all of those things, and I was in your corner and I was waving the flag and I was encouraging you every step of the way. But you're the one that does the work. So you're the one that built the business, and I'm never, ever going to take credit for building your business when that's what you're doing. As you can hear, I still feel really, really, really passionately about this to this day. And that is what happens when your values are crossed. So, Mohammed, what are you saying? Would that mean that we stay rigid, not listening to others, and change for getting best? One of my team told me that I am making the team happy rather than making them do business. Kindergarten is the way he described it. It hurt. He said he is direct. So if I understand you correctly, Mohammed, you're saying that one of your team said you were trying to keep the team happy rather than making them do their jobs. Did I understand that correctly? I mean, my answer to that is, I shared this actually, I think a few weeks ago. The first job that I ever got as a people manager, I was really, really excited about it. And I wrote to one of my mentors and I was like, oh, look at this. And I sent him the organisation announcement. I was so, so excited. And he came straight back and he went, congratulations, but remember, you are not there to be people's friends. You are there to get the job done. And actually, it was a bit like somebody pouring a bucket of ice water over my head. But do you know what? It's actually one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got. And I remember it now. I remember it with the people that I manage, any teams that I've managed, the people that I manage now in my business, but also I remember it with my clients. I'm actually not here to be your friend. I love you and I want you to succeed, but I am here to help you get the job done. And that is absolutely our roles as business owners. We're not there to be friends with people. Doesn't mean you can't be nice, doesn't mean you can't be the best boss, doesn't mean you can't be compassionate, doesn't mean you can't care about people. Of course you need to do that. But our job it's about getting the job done. We've got a business to run, yeah? And people don't have to like you. But they will respect you. Your job is to give people clarity, not to make them happy in that sense by just giving in to all of their demands. So I hope that answers your question. Is that what I think that's what you meant, Mohammed? And interesting, I mean, perhaps the person that said it to you, maybe that's also one of his values. Maybe he actually just wants to get on with things and wants things to move faster and is concerned that maybe you're being too nice with your team and not driving them hard enough. I mean, it's a careful balance, right? It's you need to be driving them, but you also need to be empowering them and making sure that they're okay. So it is a balance, but giving in to what everybody wants and being too nice is really, it will cause you huge problems. And actually, when people first start out in business, they often go into business with people that they know, maybe friends or contacts that they've got in their network, and that's perfectly normal and that's totally fine. But that's actually one of the things that I often help my clients with that people find quite difficult, is that transition from kind of, oh yeah, we're all in this and we're kind of doing it together, to no, actually we're running a business and I'm the boss. Yeah, I'm the CEO, I'm the founder, and I'm driving this thing. And that can be a difficult balance to strike. And actually maybe some of those people, that doesn't mean you have to be horrible, but it does mean you have to be clear, and it does mean you have to put the business first. Yeah, you are here to grow and run a business. If you sacrifice that to keep one person happy, you're actually doing a disservice to everybody else. Yeah, if you're not making the right decisions for your business, then your business might fold and then nobody's got a job. So if that means that some people are going to leave you, that's also okay. I always say to people, the people that are right for you at the beginning of your business journey are not necessarily the people that are right for you as you start to grow. So keep your eye on the goals that you're trying to achieve, Mohammed, and what you're trying to achieve with your business, and that will guide you. So by all means, be kind and compassionate to your people, but they're there to do a job, and so are you. So I hope that is helpful. So going back to values then, and that was an interesting actually point that you make there, Mohammed, because your values are absolutely core to you, and it's absolutely important that you embed them in your business and the way that you do business and the way that you grow your business. When you hire members of your team, and when I say that, remember, I don't necessarily mean employees. So Paula, in terms of when I'm talking about a team, I'm talking about people that you might hire or you might work with, but I'm also talking about those partners in your network that you're looking to bring in and work with. So when you bring members into, let's call it your circle or your team, what you're looking for is a values fit above all other types of fit. So remember when companies used to talk about cultural fit, and some companies still talk about cultural fit. But for me, that's a thing of the past. Actually, we are recognizing the value of having people in our teams that bring different experiences, different ways of doing things, different cultural upbringings, different socioeconomic backgrounds, different ways of doing things, different, people that are going to challenge, people that are going to actually maybe even upset the norm a little bit, challenge the status quo, question. That's what you want. You want people that are actually really passionately thinking about what you're trying to achieve there. So a cultural fit actually just means that kind of somebody's just going to fit into what you already have, whereas actually what you want is somebody that's going to bring something new. You don't want someone that's just going to get subsumed into your existing culture, and that's why cultural fit, we need to be careful about that. Whereas a values mismatch is actually something that I would go to so far as to say you actually can't get over. So particularly your absolutely core values, those real fundamental ones for you. If you hire somebody whose values don't match yours at a quite fundamental level, you won't be able to work with them. It will be painful, and you'll have constant clashes, and it just won't work. They won't be happy, you won't be happy. So a values fit is actually really, really important, much more important than this so-called cultural fit, which I think is actually pretty much irrelevant for today's business owners. So if somebody doesn't match your values, then you won't find it easy to trust them, and also your customers will get confused because they'll just have a very different way of, I was going to say a different way of doing things. They could have a different way of doing things, but if someone's got a different value, of holding different values than you, the whole way they come across, their whole ethos, if you like, is going to be different than yours. So you're definitely looking for a values fit in your business, the people that you're bringing towards you, your team members, your partners, and the people that you're looking to collaborate with. Hi Joni, lovely to see you. Hope you're well. Thank you for joining. So I've actually been planning this live kind of in the back of my mind for a while now, but it came to the forefront after I had a conversation last week with Paula, who is a lovely member of our wonderful community and also, I believe, watching today. Hello, Paula. And she asked me a really interesting question. She asked me if I'd ever felt like there was a conflict between my background and working in the corporate world, and then especially when I moved into investment banking. So for those of you that don't know, I had what some might call quite an alternative upbringing. So I was brought up by what you might call hippie parents. So my sisters and I were brought up completely homeopathic, completely vegetarian. We had no TV at home, and the school we went to had no uniform. There was no school uniform, and there were no exams until we got up to GCSE. So quite a different upbringing than a lot of people. And there was no streaming at all, and a real emphasis actually on the fact that everybody is good at what they're good at, which obviously is such a key concept now for me in my business and something that I am so passionate about. There was lots of drama, there was lots of music, lots of languages, lots of art. And I was actually great at lots of the academic things. So I was really great at maths, and I was great at English. And I wasn't so great at the more artistic, and definitely not great at sport. I mean, I was the youngest and the smallest in my class, so definitely not good at that. But do you know what? I was never, ever made to feel that I was better, smarter than anybody else. And do you know what? I am so, so, so grateful for that. I really am. And so that's not necessarily your typical background for somebody in investment banking. So when Paula asked me if I'd ever felt a conflict, I had to think about it for a moment, but actually I was really happy to be able to tell her that no, I don't think I did ever feel a conflict. I did actually believe for a while that maybe my father might have been proud of me if I was working for Greenpeace rather than working for Credit Suisse. But when I kind of made I made a flippant passing comment to him to that effect, and actually he picked me up on it straight away, and he said, no, Lisa, I'm actually really proud of you because banks and other large institutions really need people like you with integrity, who want to do the right thing, who want to manage people, and who want to bring a kind of a realism to the organisation. So of course I was chuffed to hear that he was proud of me, even though I wasn't sure if maybe I'd sold out a little bit. But I don't think I have felt a conflict between those different parts of my life. I'm proud of where I come from, and I think it makes me a better coach, and it means that I can really connect with a lot of my clients who are very, very creative, and actually I've had a very, very creative background, and it's still something that's very important to me, even though that side of things not necessarily my strong point. I think in my case it definitely got easier to be myself as I've got older, but I would definitely encourage you all to be brave and not to edit yourself when you're putting yourself out there. The things that make you unique and special are exactly the things that your clients will be drawn to. Okay, so my tip my top tips on authenticity, and particularly in terms of messaging and getting your messaging out there. So 3 top tips. Number 1, be clear about who you are and what you stand for. I commented actually, Claire, a member of this community, she put a recent post into the group, and I made a comment about it, that it's really important to give people a box, if you like, to put you in before you tell them what you do and how you do it. So I will say, hi, I'm Lisa and I'm a small business coach, and then I do this, this and this for my clients. I didn't start off like that, I have to confess. I used to try and explain what made me different from all those shiny coaches that I mentioned earlier on. But do you know what? That just confused people. And you know when you're talking to someone and you can see that they're switching off or they're just getting confused. And actually I used to give myself a hard time and think that I was boring them, or they weren't interested, or I wasn't explaining things properly. But actually what I realised, and I remembered that piece of advice that I got that I'd like to share with you, and that is, if you give people a box first and explain what you do, then it enables the person to put you, their brain puts you in that box, and then they can listen to what you're saying. So Claire, I think she was trying to explain that she's a PA and she offers different services to her clients. And even if you think, actually, I'm not a PA, I'm a different kind of PA, you kind of need to say, this is kind of the box that you can put me in. Yeah. So I was trying to go, oh, but I'm a different kind of business coach. No, I'm a business coach, but I work in this way and I work on this aspect of business, or these aspects of business. So so if you don't do that, then the person's brain, whilst you're talking, is trying to find a box for you, and so they're not listening to what you're saying. Now, when you're face to face, you can see that, and as I say, I used to see that in people's kind of eyes. I could see that they were disconnecting from what I was saying. That might just have been because they weren't interested, but it's also because I wasn't giving them a box. I wasn't saying, hello, I'm a small business coach. And then they go, okay, I file you in the small, I understand what that means. Now tell me how you do it, what makes you special, what makes you unique. So that would be my first advice, is think about what your box is, whether you're an artist or an engineer or a PA or a marketing, like what is the box that you put yourself in? And then you can explain what makes you special and unique within that. Irene, great advice for someone who wants to say too much. I don't know what you mean, Irene. I'm a woman of very few words. I've never been accused of saying too much. Exactly. So give people a box to put you in. Otherwise, I would just be going, oh yeah, they do this, they do that, and they're still trying to figure out, like, what are you? So give people a box to put you in first. It's funny actually, because the first iteration of my business was actually called COO in a Box. And I struggled a little bit because a lot of small business owners don't know what a COO is. And also I'm not really an in the box kind of a person. And then I realized that actually it's a product, and now I offer it to my clients as a product. But yeah, it always makes me laugh when I talk about being in a box. But that's what we need to do. We need to give people that sort of concept, if you like. So that's my first tip. So the second tip then is figuring out what your top 3 messages are, if you like. So if you think about where your target client, so if you haven't watched last week's live, go back and watch that, because I talk about the benefits of niching. And even if you think I know what I mean, go back and watch it. It's worth just getting that clarity again. So your perfect client, you know who they are. Think about where they are today and where they want to get to, which is the bridge, if you like, that you're building. Your solution builds that bridge between where they are today and where they want to get to. What are the 3 things, our brains love 3s. What are the 3 things, the 3 big things, the chunks that your solution helps them do to get from where they are today to where they want to get to? If you then group all of your messages into those 3 broad buckets, again, it kind of helps people's brains when they're listening to you, reading, whatever, however they're consuming you and your content. It just helps them hear you. It helps their brain listen to what you're saying if you're kind of structured in the way you're messaging. Now, I'm sure that your solution gives people lots more than 3 things, and I'm sure that you want to say a lot more than 3 things, especially Irene, if you want to say too much, like I'm sure you want to say more than 3 things. But can you look at everything you want to say and chunk it up into three main topics? So I'll give you an example for me, and this has also taken me a while to get here, but I'm happy to be able to share my learnings, and hopefully you'll get there quicker than I did. So mine are: number 1, get clear about what you're good at and what you love. Number 1. Number 2, stop doing everything yourself. Remove yourself from processes within your business that don't light you up and bring you joy and that you're not very good at. Stop doing everything yourself. That's number 2. And number 3, crucially, find the right people to be able to give those things to make you successful, to complement you, to build your team, virtual or otherwise. So all of my messaging, and please correct me if you see something that doesn't fall into that, but all of my messaging is in one of those 3 categories, because effectively that is how I help people build a business that works for them, is get really clear about what they're good at and what puts them in flow. Stop doing everything themselves. So let's figure out all the processes and which ones you need to get out of, which is normally most of them, and find the right people. And of course I do that in a blend, and we go round those 3 when I'm working with clients, because obviously you need to find a person and give them stuff and then find another person, and it goes round. But they are my 3 clear messages. So if you think about you and your business and your solution and your perfect client, where are they today and where do they want to get to, and what are those 3 big chunky steps, if you like, that they need to take? And then all of your messaging, that is what you need to be saying. So that is my second top tip on being clear and authentic in terms of your messaging. And I suppose the third point is doing what feels right to you. We're all different, you know that. I talk about that a lot. And so you need to find a method of communicating and a way of communicating that fits you and your personality and who you really are. Not everybody wants to be sharing intimate details of their lives. I know that, and certainly there's lots of things that I don't want to share, and that's totally fine. I will say that today's consumer does want to know who you are. I know that it is possible to build a brand without the CEO or the founder having any visibility, but I'd like to remind you, do you remember a few years ago there was a huge kerfuffle about the CEO of United Airlines. So there was a huge kerfuffle about United Airlines. Somebody was dragged off a flight, and there was a huge thing in the media. And the United Airlines CEO, who nobody had ever heard of and nobody knew and nobody had ever seen speak, had to go on social media and go, I'm so sorry, my company screwed up. We shouldn't have done that. We dragged this person off and it was completely inappropriate, etc., etc. And I remember reading a really interesting piece at that point at that time that made the point that if it had been Richard Branson, for example, we might have had a completely different reaction. The media might have had a completely different reaction. And that's because we think we know who Richard Branson is. Yeah, we think we know him. We whatever our opinion is of him, we know what he stands for. Maybe we like him, maybe we trust him. And so when something in one of his Virgin companies goes wrong, we're maybe more forgiving because he's a human being and he can come on social media and say, yeah, we made a mistake. This person, I don't remember his name, the CEO of United Airlines, came on social media, and it was literally the first time that anybody probably had ever, outside of his company, had ever heard him speak, or nobody even knew his name. And so today's consumer does really want to know who you are, but that doesn't mean that you need to share intimate details and your inside thigh measurement unless you really feel the need to do that. If you're not willing to share anything, I think that it's going to be quite difficult for you to build your company. But if that's really outside your comfort zone, then we need to get somebody in your business that is prepared to do that on your behalf. That is an option. It's not my preferred option, but if you're really, really against putting yourself out there at all, then that is certainly something that we can look at. But I would say decide up front what your comfort level is with sharing details, or you need to decide what you're comfortable with, and then maybe push yourself a little bit beyond that. But I would remind you that ultimately your client doesn't really care about anything apart from, can your solution solve the problem that they have? And can it do it fast? That is what your client cares about. And so they want to know you, or feel like they know you, to the extent that they can build up a little bit of trust level, a little bit of a relationship with you online. But that doesn't mean, as I say, that you need to overshare about what you're eating or your sweaty running pictures like I do. And my sister always tells me you don't have to share all your sweaty running pictures on Instagram. But hey, it makes me smile, so that's fine. So whatever your comfort level is, then I think you just get really clear about what you feel comfortable doing. But your clients do want to know who you are and what you stand for, going back to the values piece. So I am going to close off today's live. I hope you found that interesting and thought-provoking. I'll be interested to see your comments and your reflections on what I've shared with you today. And as I have been doing for the last few weeks, is I'm going to share a quote with you, and this is one of my absolutely favourite quotes, and it's by the wonderful Oscar Wilde, and it is very simply, be yourself because everybody else is taken. Which I just love, I think is brilliant. And so I would like to say you are all wonderful, unique and full of potential, and I love you all. Thank you for being in my community. Thank you for watching. Whatever you're doing this weekend and whoever you're doing it with, I wish you a happy and peaceful time. And as always, if you want to talk, you know where I am. Please get in contact. Take care, stay safe, and as always, please keep in touch. Bye for now.